No intro music today, guys. We're just going to get right into the video. Remember to like and subscribe. If you have any questions for me, leave them in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for your time.
Yo, what up, my dudes? Today we're talking about the Cronus Zen. Now, I get a lot of comments in my comment section, basically saying that it is cheating because it violates the terms of service and the code of conduct. Now, I, having looked at all of these things with a lawyer, and also having discussed them with some game developers, have come to a conclusion that I think you all will be very interested in. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about whether or not this thing actually constitutes a form of cheating, and whether or not the Bungie terms of service and the code of conduct actually qualified as such. So the information I'm giving to you isn't something that I just came up with out of the blue. This is from a lawyer. She is actually a professor of law at the university where I'm located. And as frustrated as she was to work it out with me, I made her do it because she's a buddy. And we went through the terms of service and the code of conduct, and we figured out a few things. So if you guys are interested in that, then stick around, and I will describe to you exactly what the Cronus Zen is considered to be, if it qualifies. So does it? Does it qualify as cheating? When you break down what cheating actually is, all it means is to gain an unfair advantage. But you can break down whether or not that advantage is unethical. I don't believe it qualifies as unethical, no more so than something like a better gaming monitor. Now, what you're looking at right here on screen, this is what the Cronus Zen identifies itself to be. It is a attachment device, more or less. Looking at some of the colorful language there, you'll start to notice that, yeah, they do mention a few things like aim abuse, but it doesn't actually qualify as aimbot. So going through the terms of service right here, what I found in the terms of service is basically a bunch of protective language, and don't modify your hardware, for example, because it can mess with the data, it can mess with other people's experiences. But the code of conduct is where I found myself spending most of my time. So I want to show you the code of conduct real quick. This is very specifically worded, and it, I think almost on purpose, doesn't make any claims. Not really. And I'm going to show that to you in a little bit here. So what you're looking at and what I'm doing in the code of conduct, where I found my information is right there, that link. This is what I was searching for. So after I found this information, I went through the code of conduct and I just went through the definitions of all these different little words. So here's the first one: modified game software. What are they talking about? When you're looking at modified gaming software, essentially it's just changing the game code. That goes beyond cheating. That goes beyond unfair advantage. That is hacking, and that would be considered unethical by any scope of the word. So when you use a program or a hardware or a hack, yeah, you are in fact cheating in the larger definition of the word. Looking at the next one, looking at modified game assets. So what does that mean? What's a game asset? Applies to anything that would be changing the character model in the game or any other objects in the environment, changing sound effects, changing the maps themselves, the design of the very game. Again, we're talking about hacking a game asset. The Zen does not qualify as hacking a game asset. It doesn't qualify as the other thing either. Let's take another look here. Modified hardware. So modified hardware is referring to something that's, I think this is where things get confused. So what we're discussing about modified hardware, this is unauthorized changes made to the software or the hardware, to the Xbox itself, to the controller itself. If you were to take your Elite controller and unscrew it and change it to modify that hardware, that specific piece of hardware, you have violated the terms of service. What does that say? Console firmware? There we go. This is, every console has this, by the way. It's essentially what is considered to be permanent on your Xbox, your PS4. It's the experience that you have from the scripts that are loaded and preloaded onto all of your devices. So if you were to change those, I think overclocking would be a good way of putting this. So yeah, that is considered to be both against the terms of service, and it would void your warranty. This whole section right there, this is, I think, what most people are getting up in arms about. Trainers, mods, cheats, aimbots. Look, a game trainer this is something that, again, messes with the data of the game itself, and that is not what the Zen does. The Zen is just a controller attachment. It does happen to change up the behavior of your controller, just like you can do on your own if you modify your own controller by changing the dead zones. This one just makes it a little bit more lazy. Mods, essentially a mod in the case of, let's say, uncertainty. I don't really know. I'm sorry. But like there wasn't something that I could have found that was like, wow, yeah. I mean, the games themselves have mods anyway. So I don't know what they're talking about there. Neither did the lawyer. Cheats, again, here's what they define as cheats. What you're looking at for cheats are autofire and aimbots. Autofire would be if you took a pulse rifle and you gave it the rate of fire of an auto rifle, right? It would be unusually deadly. Now, these are hacks to the game. And the definition, what we're looking at right here, right? This is not what the Zen does. The Zen is just a controller attachment. Yes, it does have firmware in the Zen device itself, and that is protective, but that does not modify, it does not void any warranties, it doesn't go against any terms of service, and as we just discussed, it also does not abuse or change the data or hack any of the devices that we're referring to. So, yeah, you could try to make the only thing that I could say that you could really call it would be it's making gamers a little bit more lazy because they don't have to use skill anymore. Not as much skill anyway. You still have to have game sense, but yeah. User mode and kernel debugger. This again has to do with Microsoft and Windows. Any external programming or device. I mean, right there, if you're using an external hardware device, that's different than an external program that's then being uploaded to mess with the data. I'll go back and say it again. I've discussed what's considered to be cheating in a previous video. Anything that is an unfair advantage, right? If you have a gaming monitor and I do not, you have the unfair advantage, a clear unfair advantage. Here's another example. If you got a gaming controller and I've got the regular controller, right? I've got an extra however many buttons. I've got changes I can make and mapping and design of this controller and how I want it to perform. I mean, that's incredibly unfair if you do not have one. Now here's the big one. The gaming router. Oh my god, dude. This thing can pretty much reduce input lag and ping down to practically zero. Now again, if you have one and I do not, you're cheating. If you ever play Call of Duty, if you've got a better headset than me, you know exactly where I'm at. I would say that's an unfair advantage. Again, all of these things, I'm putting them out there so that you guys have the understanding that they don't constitute hacking, but they do constitute an unfair advantage. That's the difference. That doesn't make it cheating. So, what's a game developer's point of view of all this? A buddy of mine basically put it to me this way. They don't care for the device because it takes away the work that they put into the game. They actually put a lot of work into these games when it comes to recoil and a bunch of these other things, and this takes away from all that. Now, my law professor buddy, what did she have to say about it? Hey, stop asking me. I don't like you doing your stupid research. That's basically what she told me. And then I begged a little bit because this really matters to the few hundred people that follow me. So here's the long and the short of it. Bungie seems to have specific definitions to protect the game itself, to protect the hardware itself, and it almost seems like it's just boilerplate. If Bungie feels like changing it, they can do that. They have not, as of right now, changed what they consider cheating. They haven't. So the Zen doesn't qualify specifically by their own examples. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope this was informative. I hope you got something out of it. If you have any questions, any comments, any concerns, leave them in the description, the box below. Thank you so much.